loving Master. Loving Father, loving Master, we say thank you, glorify you, lift the name on high, Father, for a morning like this, Lord. We say thank you for a great day, Lord, King of God, that you have given us, Lord, King of glory. We say thank you for our tutor, Father, Lord, King of glory, Mr. Kazba Stephen, Father, that you have given us, Lord, King of glory. May power be upon him, Lord, King of glory. May you be with him, Father, Lord, King of glory, as he reads us, Father, Lord, King of glory, so to this session, Lord. May you empower him with your greatest knowledge, Lord, King of glory. Even us, the students, Father, Lord, King of glory, may you see your grace and your power. Father, empower us with your love, Master, Lord, King of glory. Open our minds so that you can get whatever, Father, that will give us, Lord, King of glory, and be able to apply it in the forthcoming, Father, USCE exams, Father. In the mighty name of Jesus, I've been able to pray and believe. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for the word of prayer. Favored Race High School, we are happy to have you. Good morning once again. Thank you so much, everyone who has joined this call. Let me hope you can hear me clearly well. So you can respond through the chat whether you are able to hear me very well, whether you are able to get me and you are able to see my screen. My name is Kazba Stephen, and today we are going to be sharing on how to write a research proposal, and that is the area I'm going to concentrate on today. Yes, it's going to be how to write a research proposal for general paper. Okay. Now, what is the format of a research proposal? Now, research proposal has basically 8 areas that you need to pay attention to. The first area is what we call the title of the research. Number 2, what we call the introduction / background, problem statement, objectives of the study, research questions or hypothesis, methodology, data collection and sampling, data analysis, interpretation, the expected outcomes, significance and conclusion, then the coherence or the flow, and then the structure. Dear students, as you are coming up with your research proposal, we shall expect to see all these areas being captured in the work that you are going to be presenting. So whatever thing I have displayed here, as you are coming up with your research proposal, ensure that you have those things captured in your work. So those that these areas I've displayed here are the areas that we are going to touch in our session. But as we talk about a research proposal, I want to bring to your attention that a research proposal is a plan that outlines your topic, the introduction, and how you are going to solve a particular problem within a society. So it is a plan on how you are going to conduct something. It's a plan on how you are going to come up with a result, on how you are going to execute, on how you are going to be able to solve that particular problem within a given society. Now, the first component is what we call a research title. When we talk about a research title, we are looking at that statement that is going to tell the reader what, number one, what is the study about? What are you studying about? Are you studying about mental health? Are you studying about learners' well-being? Are you studying about socio-economic status? Are you studying about learners' progression? Are you studying about school infrastructures? That is what we call what the study is about. Meaning that what the study is about must contain what we call the independent variable and the dependent variable. Number 2, where the study will be conducted from. Where are you going to conduct your study from? Now, when we talk about where, referring to the place, is it going to is your study going to be conducted from? So here we are looking at the scope of your study. Is it going to be about a given district? Which country are you conducting your research from? Then we look at the variables being investigated. What is it that you are investigating? What factors are you looking at? What is causing this and what effect can it have? That's what we call the variables. Now, dear students, as you are coming up with your research title, ensure that these three areas are being captured. What the study is about, where the study will be conducted, and which variables are being investigated. So within your research or within the title you're coming up with, those three things must come out clearly well. The moment we talk about what the study is about, it should be seen. Where the study will be conducted, that is the scope, that is the area, it should be seen. Is it a school? Is it a district? Where? Which country? Then we shall expect to see clearly two major variables in your title. That is the independent and then the dependent variable. And whenever we are adding those two variables, we shall use the word and. Okay. Then we have what we call characteristics of a good research title. Not all titles you come up with are going to be very good, but there are things that determine that something is a good title. Number one, it must be clear. By being clear, we mean that it should be easy to understand. That once someone reads your title, he or she must be able to understand. Number two, concise. It should be brief but very informative, meaning that the number of words you are writing should be between at least 14 to 20. That is a good research topic, international wise. That as long as your research title that you are coming up with has those number of words, at least 14 words to 20, but not more than 25, then that one is a very brief and very informative. Number three, specific. It should focus on a particular issue. When you are writing your research title, you should not have very many issues inside the title. Let me say, in case the scenario is talking about, let me say, it's talking about learners sitting PLE, learners sitting UCE. It is talking about unemployment. It is talking about household incomes and the rest of that. It doesn't mean that your title will contain all those things. No, your title should contain only specific issues that can bring out all what you are thinking about. Number four, it should be relevant. Your title should be based on the scenario you are working on. I understand that your teachers you have been working on given individual projects at your school. Now here it will always depend on the scenario that has been given to you. That exposure you have received from the individual projects you have conducted at school you should be able to use that knowledge you have acquired to respond to any scenario given to you. It is the same process that now here you are applying that knowledge to different scenarios. Number five, it should be researchable. It means that your work or whatever thing you are coming up with, it should be investigated using appropriate research methodologies. So any title you come up with, you ask yourself, can someone find out data about this? Can it be investigated? Your research proposal, the research title you are coming up with, you are trying to investigate something. You are trying to find out something that you are not yet sure about, something that you are not well informed, but you want to find out information. Now, these are what we call the characteristics of a good research title. Now, we have what we call components of a good research title. And I want you please, these two components are very key. Number one, what we call the independent variable. The independent variable is like the cause, is like that factor that you want to investigate. That's what we call an independent variable. So an independent variable is the cause of something. What is it that is causing that particular thing? what factor do you want to investigate? That's what we call an independent variable. Okay. Sorry, I went off, but allow me to get back and share my screen. Sorry, I'm seeing some hands up. I'm seeing some hands up. I don't know if there are questions, but I'll be able to respond to those questions. Okay, sorry about that. So I ended somewhere here. Those who have questions, for now, we can have them in the chat, but I think I'm back. I'll be able to respond to them. So I was saying that we have what we call the scope. Now, the scope contains the area or the place where your research is going to be conducted from. It contains what we call the content scope. And then sometimes we can call it content scope. Then when it comes to scope, we have basically the geographical scope and then the content scope. So the content scope is being captured by the independent and the dependent variable. Then when it comes to the geographical scope, it is being captured by the area where you're going to conduct your research from. So those are the components that are very important. So we are going to start. Now, what are the steps or how do we develop a research topic or a research title? Now, I want you, dear students, to take on these 6 steps as we are developing our research title. Number 1, you are going to be given a scenario. So whenever they give you the scenario, read the scenario very careful. This is the first step. Read the scenario very careful. Read it the first time and then the second time, such that you can be able to understand, where you can contextualize, where you can turn it into your language, attach that real life thing to it. Number 2, identify the main problem. Each scenario you are going to receive on project proposal, there will always be a problem. So you need to identify what is the problem inside that scenario. The moment you identify the problem, the challenge, then you know that you are a step. Number 3, you need to identify what fact needs to be investigated. That is step number 3. Then step number 4, what outcome, what effect can be measured. Then from there, identify the scope, the study area, where is it going to be conducted from. Then the last one, combine everything you have obtained to form what we call a research title. Now, a research title will always contain, number 1, the independent variable, together with the dependent variable, and then the scope. Those are the major areas that they look out for. So when you're writing your research title, make sure that your title has those 3 components captured, that the independent variable is there, dependent variable is there, and then the scope. Once you have all those things, then it means that now you have a clear research title. Allow me now, we go to the practical bit of it. When you look at my screen, I have displayed for you a scenario. What does the scenario tell us? It tells us that Uganda's education system has made significant progress in expanding access to education over the years. However, the number of learners progressing from one level of education to another remains a growing concern. In 2025, approximately 820,000 candidates sat for primary leaving examination, but only about 430 proceeded to the Uganda Certificate of Education. The number further dropped to approximately 160,000 candidates who sat for the Uganda Advanced Certificate of Education. Reports from the Uganda Bureau of Statistics indicate that many households continue to experience socio-economic challenges such as low household income, unemployment, large families, and limited access to educational resources. Education stakeholders believe that these challenges may affect the learner's ability to remain in school and successfully progress from one level of education to another. However, there is limited information how socioeconomic status influences the progression of learners in secondary schools in Uganda. As a student of general paper, write a research proposal of 500 to 700 to investigate the concerns highlighted in the scenario. Dear students, whenever you get the scenario, read it the first time, read it the second time until you understand. Now, what are we going to do? So after you going through the scenario, the first thing I want you always to do when you meet that scenario, you are going to first ask yourself, what are the main issues being talked about in the scenario? You highlight them. You highlight those particular issues being highlighted. When you look at our scenario, there are issues that they are highlighting. The scenario is discussing some issues. So I'm going to first highlight them. One, the scenario is talking about Uganda's education system. When you look at it, there is Uganda's education system. So one of the issues, or what we call the main points in the scenario, one, it is education in Uganda. So you take note of the issues. Education in Uganda. Number two, you ask yourself, what other issue are they talking about? Has made significant progress in expanding. Then they went, however, the number of learners progressing from one level to another remains a growing concern. Now, when you look at the statistics, you are noticing that there is a decline in the number of children who progress from one level to another. So you are going to put here another issue. You are saying in the scenario, declining learner progression. That is another issue being highlighted in the scenario. Then you continue. Reports from the Bureau indicate that many households continue to experience socio-economic challenges. Now, they are talking about socio-economic challenges. Put it there that there is an issue about socio-economic challenges. You look out for those major things being highlighted in the scenario. Then, what else they want you to investigate? What could be the issues causing all of this? Now, after doing so, after identifying the main things, the next step is identifying what is the main problem within the scenario. What is the major concern that needs to be investigated? Now, what is the major concern? The major concern is here. 820 candidates sat. From there, we went to 430. From there, we went to 160,000. Now, what is the major problem? The main problem is that the learners are not progressing well from one level to another. That is the big problem. So you are going to say now, what is my problem? My problem is low learner progression. Low learner progression across the educational levels. Now, after identifying the problem, you are going to ask yourself, what factors within the scenarios are influencing this problem? What factors? That is now we're on step number 3. You have identified the main problem. The main problem is low learners progression from one education level to another. Now from there, you are going to ask yourself, what factor is influencing, is causing the learner progression? Now, when you continue to say that reports from Uganda Bureau of Statistics indicate that many households continue to experience socio-economic challenges. Now, that one is the cause. That is the cause why, one of the causes why the progression is low. Now, after you identifying that in the scenario, what are the things they are mentioning? In the scenario, they are mentioning low household incomes. People earn little money. Number 2, unemployment. People are not employed. Large family sizes. When you have a very large family, you may not be able to take care of all the children you have. Limited access to educational resources. Now, all these ones are problems. These are causes of the low learners progression. Now, when you look at all those factors, low household income, unemployment, large family sizes, and limited access to education resources, all these are causes of low learners progression. What does it mean? If someone is not employed, you cannot take your child to school. The child will stay home. What will happen? The learner cannot progress. When you have a large family, the learner cannot progress. Why? Because you may not be in position to take care of all the children. When your incomes are very small, you always give priority that I cannot take a learner and I stay starving. When you don't have access to education resources, your children are going to be taken back home. Now, all these are causes. But now, when you are presenting when you are presenting, now your causes are what are going to be giving us what we call the independent variable. Now, dear students, all these ones can be summed up, all these causes can be summed up to what we call socio-economic status. Socio-economic status. So what does it mean? It means that for this case, my independent variable is going to be socio-economic status. Socio-economic status, it's where I'm not going to look at low household income, unemployment, large family sizes, and limited access to educational resources. So inside here is why we have all those things: low household income, unemployment, large family sizes, and limited access to educational resources. Now, after identifying the IV, you ask yourself, if these children do not go to school, what is going to result? What is the outcome? Now, the outcome is the low progression of learners. So here I'm going now to come. What is my DV? My DV is going to be learner progression. So that one is how you are going to be identifying. Because when you continue and read, the scenario also will tells you that, however, education stakeholders believe that these challenges may affect learners' ability to remain in school and successfully progress from one level to another. Now, that is the outcome. That once these socioeconomic status issues affect the children are not going to be able to progress to school. Now, after identifying what your IV and what your DV is, the next thing you are going to ask yourself is the scope. Because I told you we have major things. Now, the scope. The scope is the area. Where are you going to conduct this research from? When you look through, you are noticing that they have given us a scope. Where will you conduct this study? So the study says that they are looking at secondary schools in Uganda. Now, that is the scope for your study. So the scope is going to be, you are looking at secondary schools in Uganda. So meaning that here your scope, you will say secondary schools in Uganda. So that is how we come up with your research title. Now, after identifying your IV, the DV, now you're going to write, you are going to combine your IV plus the DV plus the scope, and then you come up with your research title. Now here we can say that our research title can be socio-economic status and learners progression, a case of selected secondary schools in Uganda. Because you cannot, and here please take note, because they have talked about secondary schools, when we are conducting research, we may not be able to go to all schools within Uganda. So that's why we select, we are selective. That's why we say a case of selected schools in Uganda. So that is how you can come up with your research title. Kindly let me know through the chat whether you are understanding how to come up with a research title. I'm looking through the chat. Use the chat to communicate. We are still looking at other scenarios, but I want you to tell me whether we are picking the area or the issue we are handling. The first step, you must be able to come up with the research title. The moment you come up with the research title, all other things are going to be flowing clearly. Okay, I'm looking through the chat to check whether, okay, people are saying yes. Okay, now allow me to go to the second scenario. Now, I have another scenario here. Can I have a school to read for us? We can have a school to read for us. Okay. Yes, Wanda?
Okay, I'm going to read. The scenario says, when the wells run dry, it is not only thirst that rises. It is conflict, desperation, and the test of a community's unity. In Naminyenge village, water has become more precious than gold. The few drops available are shared uneasily between people and animals, creating tension at every watering point. What was once a natural resource that sustaining life has now turned into a source of division. Suggestions abound. Some residents argue for digging a traditional well, while others while others insist that a borehole would be more sustainable. Yet, beneath these proposals, the challenge just gets deeper. The chairperson of the village, sensing urgency, has called a meeting to chart a path forward. He has assigned a team of students in their S6 vacation to look into the matter. Then the task is, as a member of the selected team, write a research proposal between 500 to 700 words that investigate the challenge raised above.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, dear students, the first thing you need always to ask yourself, what is this scenario about? That is the issue. What is the scenario about? Now, when you look at the scenario, what you do after, get your pencil open, start highlighting issue per issue within the scenario. Highlight what? Issues within the scenario. So we are going to start. When the wells run dry, it's not only thirsty that rises, it is conflict, desperation, and the test of community's unity. In Naminyenge village, what has become more precious than gold? The few drops available are shared uneasily between people and animals, creating tension at every watering point. What was once a natural resource sustaining life has now turned into a source of division. Now, you need now to ask yourself, what is the scenario about? Now, number one, when you look at this scenario, you are noticing that there is an issue of water shortage in the village. That is number one. Number two, when you read here, wells run dry, it means that they have dry wells, or wells get dry after a given period of time. Number three, there are conflicts over water. Number four, you can see that there is an issue concerning boreholes and wells, because that means that is part, or when it means that is part, because they told you argue for digging it. Okay, some residents argue for digging a traditional well, while others insist that a borehole will be more sustainable. So you're noticing they're talking about borehole and they're talking about traditional wells. So what is that? And also the community is very concerned. Now, after identifying the issues within the scenario, you have to go now deeper and ask yourself, what is the biggest challenge that needs to be investigated? What is the big challenge that needs to be investigated within this? Now, when you look at the scenario, it has identified quite a number of problems. Number one, wells run dry. You ask yourself, why? Number two, water has become scarce. Why? People and animals are competing for water. Conflict has gone hard, but the problem needs to be investigated. Now, when you read through the question, you are noticing that all the issues that are coming, all the issues that are rising are caused by one thing. All these issues that are rising are caused by one issue. Who can tell us? Raise up your hand and you share with us. What issue is causing all those problems? What issue are you able to identify within the scenario? Okay. Yes, Zubi? Zubi?
It's water crisis.
Water crisis. Thank you. Ramadan, do you have the same?
So I'm having water supply.
Water supply. Okay. Good. Then Timothy. Okay. So, okay. Saint Matia Mulumba.
Sir, I think the problem is water shortage.
Water shortage. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And that is very true. So here, the biggest challenge is on water. Scarcity of water is the problem. Water scarcity is the problem. So what are you going to do? You are going to take note that the problem, my problem, the main problem, in fact, I call it the main problem is water shortage, water scarcity, and the water supply. That is the issue. Now, after identifying the main problem, which is, okay, allow me to mute you. Allow me to mute you. Now, after identifying the main problem, you are going to ask yourself, what influences this problem? What factors appear within the scenario to be influencing the problem? What factors are influencing the problem? Because when you look at the scenario, it is mentioning things concerning traditional wells, it is mentioning things concerning boreholes, water sources. Because water scarcity, there is something causing it. There is something that you need to investigate. So after you notifying the problem is water scarcity, but now what factors influence this? Because if there is no water, then you need to ask yourself, could the problem be on the boreholes? Could the problem be on the traditional wells? Could the problem be on the water sources? Because there is something that is causing water scarcity. Meaning that here you need to think, because they are telling that some residents argue for digging a traditional well. So you need to ask yourself as an investigator, if we are to dig the traditional wells, shall we have solved the water scarcity? Others insist that a borehole would be more sustainable. You ask yourself, if we are to dig a borehole, is it the best? Then you need to ask yourself, what factors influence this? So the factors influencing the water scarcity, we shall look at the water sources, we are going to look at the traditional wells and the boreholes. Because as an investigator, you should come up with a good recommendation that maybe if we go in for the boreholes, they will be more sustainable, such that all those problems are what? Are solved. Remember, at the end of the day, your aim is to be able to support this community to solve the problem with your proposal. That in case they get funding, it can be solved. So here, I want you to look at the sources or the things that you are going to investigate. You want to find out, are the traditional wells working? Can I recommend traditional wells? Or we go for boreholes? If we are not going for boreholes, or can I first investigate the source of water or water sources? Now, these ones are the factors influencing scarcity of water. But now, remember, we are identifying our IV. Now, when you look at the traditional wells, you are looking at the boreholes, you are looking at the water sources. You cannot treat all these ones, because all these ones are the causes, are some of the causes of the water scarcity. Maybe the source where the water is coming from, there is a problem. Maybe it is shallow. So during dry season, everything goes. Maybe the boreholes they dig they're not so deep. So it is causing what? The problem. Now, what are you going to do? You ask yourself, which term can I give all these causes for this problem? Can someone raise up the hand and you share? Traditional wells, boreholes, sources, because those are the factors influencing the problem. So you ask yourself, which term, what general term can I use to sum up all those things into one, such that that one becomes my IV? So anyone? I'm seeing some hands up. Let me, yes, Weko Simon, and then Ramadan Kavali.
Good evening, good morning, doctor. And good morning, sir.
Yes, morning.
Maybe I think some of the water sources, like that where they put the borehole, some places are like they have some water already down drainage, whereby when they try to dig the borehole water, there's some water down. The level of water table.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one
Thank you.
of the.
Yes, Simon, you are right. That is one of the issues, but you are going to investigate as a researcher. Now, we are asking that when you look at those issues of the water table, that is going to fall under the borehole. When you look at the sources, water sources, so I'm asking, what one word can we use to sum up the traditional wells, boreholes, and this into one? I want just one word that we can use as our IV. Remember, the IV is the cause of the problems. So I want that factor that we are going to investigate. Ramadan?
Sir, I'm taking water supply sources.
Water supply sources.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'm going to comment. Thank you, Kavali. Water supply sources. Very good. Bernard. Oh, I'm failing to get Bernard.
Yes, sir.
Bernard. Yes.
Yes. So for me, I was thinking of sustainability of water sources.
Sustainability of water sources. Now, Bernard, you keep asking yourself, when I look at that IV I'm coming up with, will it be able to capture all the factors influencing the scarcity of water? Because your issue, what you want to solve is to ensure that this community has constant supply of water. Is that fine?
Yes.
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 Yeah. Okay. Okay. Very good. I've seen very many comments coming. Very good. So we are going to build. Now, when you look at, because what we are going to investigate, what of the issues you want to investigate is that if now I'm to go into this village and I am to build for them a borehole, will it be sustainable? Is it the best? If I'm to build a traditional well, will it be the best? If I'm to look out maybe for these other things, could it be the best? Now, when you look at all those things, you can sum them up by using the word water supply infrastructure. That one can be your IV. When you talk about water supply infrastructure, it means that you are capturing boreholes. You are going to go investigate this kind of borehole, the other sources, you look out for the water table, you are going to look out for this and the other. Still under water supply infrastructure, you are looking at the traditional wells. Because you have to establish within this area, is this borehole going to work? Or this well, where is the water table? So all those things you are going to be investigating them. Okay, let me first pick on a hand from Seta High. Seta High, unmute.
Morning, Master.
Yes, good
Our
morning.
submission was that we would better categorize them as water resources.
Water
Resources.
resources.
Right.
Okay. Why? Now, when you talk about water resources means the natural sources of water. But now you look at other issues that if we are to look at the water resources, are you looking at the boreholes? Because you can dig a borehole, but as long as the infrastructure or as long as what? Let me say, the components on it are not working, you have not solved the problem. Much as you can dig water in that area, as long as these infrastructures are not working, you have not solved the problem.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you
Thanks.
just call them water resources, it means that you are looking at just one component, but other components must contribute to it. That what about the infrastructures around it? Have you captured them? Because when you talk about water supply infrastructure, it means that you have captured the boreholes, you have captured that the water resources, you have captured about the wells, you have captured about other community things within the title.
Okay. It's clear now.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we are going to continue. Now, that is going to be your IV. Now, after identifying your IV, you need now to go and identify what is the DV. What is being affected? Now, what is being affected because of the condition of the water getting scarce? Number one, because from the scenario they have told that water has become scarce. People are walking long distances. They are sharing. There are crises. There are conflicts and the rest of that. So meaning that now you need to ask yourself, if water is scarce, what results from there? So what results from there, I'm going to underline that number one, when this water becomes scarce, we are going to have things of conflict. We are going to have thirsty coming in. We are going to have tension coming in. We are going to have divisions in the society. Now, you need to ask yourself, what is the main outcome? What is the main outcome? Now, that is going to form your DV. So, now here when I'm looking at my DV, I'm going to ask myself, what is the outcome or what is the effect? So here, in case I'm looking at the effect, I can look at access to safe and reliable water. I can look at access to safe and reliable water, or I can look at water availability. And then from there, I'm going to look at what is my scope. My scope for this particular one, I look at the village. That what village am I looking at? I'm looking at Naminyenge village. So this is going to be your scope. So that means that now, once you have that, it means that now you have come up with a good research title. And now your research title, you can look at water supply infrastructure and access to safe and reliable water. A case of maybe Naminyenge village. Now, that is what. When you look at that title, your IV is there, your DV is there, and the scope has been mentioned. So someone can comfortably come and say now that person can get her or his score of 3. So that is very important. But the most important thing, dear students, read the scenario, identify the problem. That the problem is water scarcity in Naminyenge village. Identify what factors are influencing the problem, that it is the water supply. Because many of the areas where we live, there is water, but it is supply or how we are getting it from down there. Because the issue is not that there is no water in the area. Like how Seta was telling us, they were telling us about water sources. Area where we are seated down, there is water. But how we get that water from there is what is still affecting us. Is still what is affecting these people. So now you need to ask yourself, what infrastructures do we need to get that water from down to come up? And then what is going to be affected? Now we shall have access to safe and reliable water. And where will the study be conducted? It's going to be conducted in Naminyenge village. So that's how you can come up with your research title. Okay, I have another scenario here. This is another scenario. I want you to read. Read it through. And now for this one, I want each one of us to read through. I want you to first identify what is the main problem within the scenario. Identify that problem. That within this scenario, this is the problem. But remember, I told you, before you identify the problem, first ask yourself, what issues are being discussed within the scenario? What issues are coming up within the scenario? Then from there, we build on to get what the problem is. So let's build. I want each one of you on the call, I want you to look at the scenario. First ask yourself, what issues are being put into the scenario? So we are taking time to read through. So as you read through, I want to always identify. Why I'm telling you to always identify the issues. Those issues you are identifying are going to be very supportive as you write your introduction and background. Yeah, that's why I'm telling you, always identify the issues within the scenario. Yeah, that maybe the scenario is talking about health. The scenario is talking about education. The scenario is talking about this. Identify those major issues that are coming out from the scenario. Okay. Okay. I'm seeing some hands. Okay, from Teacher Isaac.
Yes, please. Good morning, Mr. Kaziva.
Yes, good morning, sir.
I'm a student. So the
Yes.
main problem I'm seeing is like there is an increasing number of street children.
Very good. Thank you. Which school is this?
Night vocational secondary school, Kabachai.
Okay, light vocation. Thank you. That is very correct. If you had that, dear students, all those people who had that, the main problem in our scenario here is the increasing number of street children. Very good. Thank you. Now, you have identified a problem in Kampala City. The next question is going to be, what factors within the scenario could be causing this problem? I repeat, after identifying the problem in the scenario, that it is increasing number of street children in Kampala, you ask yourself, what factors are causing this problem? What factors are causing this problem? Yes. Raise up the hand and you give us at least a factor. Raise up your hand. I'm going to start with Akaplamwa. You give us a factor. Yes? I'm writing now the factors causing the increasing number.
Like here, the cause of the main problem here is child neglect, lack of family support, and domestic conflict.
Child neglect. That's 1, 2.
Two is domestic conflict.
Domestic conflict. Good.
And so I have a question for you.
Okay.
So are we going to have the individual project, or it's not going to be there?
Oh, I'm failing to get them. Rena College. Oh, am I failing to get people? I've failed to get Good Shepherd. I've failed to get Rena College. I've failed to get Samsung. Good Shepherd. Okay. Now, after identifying the main problem, find out what is causing that main problem. So we have said they have mentioned child neglect. They have mentioned domestic conflict. When you read through, to poverty, they have mentioned something concerning poverty here. You can put there. They have mentioned something concerning weak family support. So this is weak family support. Now, what does it mean? It means that your investigation you are going to carry out is going to be centered around these ones here. That's what you want to investigate. Really, are children being neglected by their parents? Do we have domestic conflicts in there? Do we have poverty existing? Do we have weak family support? So your research is going to be centered around here such that you can propose a solution to be able to solve that. Now, after identifying all these factors, you ask yourself, which one broad word can I use? Which one word can I use for that? That is now what is very, very important. Which word can I use for all those ones? That is now what we are looking for. So ask yourself, what one word can I use to represent all these problems into one word? I'm saying anode. Which word can we use?
Sir, according to the scenario,
yes,
the word we can use is that the factors contributing to the increasing number of students in Kampala City, Uganda.
Now, when you say, okay. Now, when you look at what you have mentioned, remember what we are looking for? We are looking at the IV, what you are going to investigate. So, when you are going to investigate, you are not yet sure what is happening. So, your research should be centered on what is it that you want to investigate, not what you already know or what you think. So, when you are stating your IV, you do not say factors causing or leading to the increasing number of this and this. Because now all that we have mentioned, you have not now brought out what your IV is. So, okay, hope you have understood and has said that.
Are you getting me?
Yes.
Yes. I would consider family socioeconomic status.
Family socio-economic status.
Yes.
Okay, why?
Because if you look at the aspect of economics, it covers the aspect of poverty. It also covers the status of the family.
Okay.
Then when you look at child neglect, it's about the relationship between the child and the mother. That brings in the aspect of social. So
wow,
I'm encompassing two things, which is the social connection between the mother and the father. I mean, the children within the home and the parents. Then, of course, the money they have in the home. And of course, money, the lack of the money can lead to the neglect, can lead to the domestic strife and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Perfect.
That's what I would consider.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Now, dear students, you need to think. So here, our IV you could say family, socio-economic, maybe factors, family, socio-economic status, family support, all those ones can be your IV, such that they contain all these problems. Then, after identifying your IV, you are going to ask yourself, now, let me identify my DV. The DV is the outcome, the problem. That is what we call the IV. So here, when you are looking at the IV, you are looking at the increasing number of street children. So when you are looking at the number of IV, or when you are looking for your DV now here, you could just say maybe it could be streetism among children, number of street children, something of that kind. Then from there, you are going to identify which location, what is your scope, that this one, it is within Kampala City. And when you look at Kampala City, where? In Uganda. So here, when you are writing, you could say that now maybe I'm going to look at family support and streetism among children in the case of Kampala City, Uganda. That one can be your research title. When you're writing your research title, I always encourage that avoid having biased statements. Avoid having things like factors leading to this and this, factors causing this and the other. Yes, so have your IV and DV clearly stated. Let them come out very well. And please take note that these are case studies. You are just doing a case of Kampala City, Uganda, because you are doing just a sample, but you are not doing it across the whole country. So I want to make that one very clear. So that's how you can state your title that. So let me look at one more scenario. We'll look at one more scenario. And for this particular scenario, allow me that each one of you come up with your research title, and then you are going to share with us what you have come up with. But the first thing I want you, first identify the major issues within the scenario. What is the scenario talking about? What is this scenario talking about? Identify those things. So let each one of us first look at those particular concepts. Okay, so I want you to be able to come up with a research title. What is very important in the research title? That ability for you to be able to know your DV, IV, and where your research is to be carried out from. Okay, so when you finish, sorry. I need to minimize such that people can continue seeing. Okay, I'm going to start with mass desire. Yes, Mercy.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
I think the scenario is all about unemployment.
So what is the main, she went off. She went off. Okay, what is the main problem in the scenario? What is the main problem?
Main problem, parents.
Yeah, you need to first know the main problem.
It's about unemployment.
Okay, you keep thinking. Yes. Okay. UKP Garden High School.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning.
I think the main challenge in the scenario is that there is lack of practical skills in students due to the curriculum.
Okay, good. Yes, that is that is the main problem. That children finish secondary schools, children are in schools, but they do not get these practical skills. Very good. UKP Garden.
Yeah, that's
What
the
research title? What is your IV and DV?
the IV. I would say it would be
Okay. Could you first tell us that what is causing children to miss out on these practical skills?
it's because of the curriculum used in the secondary schools.
Is it okay? Now you need to first understand, is it the curriculum? Because the curriculum will specify what you are supposed to learn. So what is causing these children not to get those skills, those practical skills? What factors? That is what now you need to look out for. What factors? What factors? SMAG?
Decrease the investment in learning infrastructure.
The learning infrastructure. But when you look at the scenario, you need to ask yourself, what are those things that they are talking about? That in schools, when you check out, they are mentioning that for you to get a practical skills, you find that in those schools, they have issues concerning science laboratories, workshops, farms, sports facilities. Meaning that if those things are lacking in a school, the school does not have them. There is no way children are going to get those practical skills of science, of ICT, farming, sports, and the rest of that. Now, what do you need to do? Now, all these factors that are influencing the other thing to happen are what you are going to be forming your IV. I don't know that that is okay.
Yeah, that's very okay.
Okay. So I want one school to Godsway High School. Could you give us one word that can sum up all those factors bringing the problem? Godsway High?
Yes, looking at the factors, I think it is inability of the schools to provide the practical infrastructures.
So how can you use those practical infrastructures? So okay, very good. You have brought it very well. But now, if you could sum them up in one word, because science laboratories, ICT, workshop, farm, which words can we use? One word or two? You have made one of the word is infrastructures.
The practical infrastructures.
Practical infrastructures. Okay, very good. Yes. So, dear students, that's how you need to break these scenarios. So, someone here could say school infrastructures, but the major thing is infrastructure facilities. That's what schools are lacking. But here, since we are talking about school, we could call them school infrastructures. Now, dear students, like I've said, always make sure you get the factors causing. Yes, so under your IV now, you are going to be breaking it into small parts. Now, what happens? If children do not get these practical skills, what is going to result? that if children do not get these skills, one, they are not going to have hands-on learning. They are going to be studying a lot of theory. Children are not going to be able to apply their knowledge. They are not going to attain the technical, the digital skills. They are not going to be, yes. Now, afterwards, you go on and ask yourself, how can I sum up all those things that children are going to miss? And now you can call them practical skill development. Then number 3, where is the study going to be conducted? The study, when you check here, you note that this is within Wakiso district. Now, after noting that it's within Wakiso district, here I want you to go on that you are going to look at Wakiso district, but you are not going to look to check in all schools within Wakiso. So you will say that maybe I can have my simple research title as school infrastructure and practical skill development. Remember, this is now your IV. This is the DV. Then you have clearly told us the scope that you are going to do it within Wakiso district, but some selected schools, because you may not be able to go to all schools, and this is within Uganda. So you can have your research title in that particular form. But please, I want to emphasize that what is very key in a research title, what is very key is the IV, the DV, and the scope. Those ones should come out clearly. And when you're writing, please make sure that a research title should not be very long. So you always count how many words. I told you a good one should be between 14 to 20. That is a good research title. If it is beyond that, not more than 25. So you count that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So please, you pay attention. It's not just about writing, but remember, we say that some of the characteristics of a good research title, it should be clear, easy to understand, concise, brief, but very informative. 3, specific. There is an issue you are focusing on. 4, it should be relevant based on the scenario you're working on. Then 5, it should be researchable. You should be able to go on and investigate. Okay, unless you are asking a question, I'm seeing some hands still up. Light vocation, could it be a question? Zubi, could it be a question? Or Boy John, is it a question?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, mine is also a question.
Yeah.
I would like to take us back on the other issue. I mean, the other thing we're talking about on the side of the IV and the DV, like to summarize these problems in terms of the infrastructure and the rest. What if I said that the problem is on the other very one we are still working on,
This one?
Yes.
Mm.
What if I bring it like this, that it is let me check it out here, that it is a school infrastructure or inadequate infrastructure in a school. Will it be correct or it will not be correct?
Now, the first one is very okay. School infrastructure.
Yes.
Then, number 2, when you say inadequate infrastructure, it is an indicator that you already know that within that school, we have inadequate infrastructures. So it means that you don't need to go and investigate because you already know. Yet your proposal is to find out what is happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay. I'm saying Zubi, I fail to get you. And then lastly, Sadat. Others, I will be responding through the chat.
Mine is can simply be placed under semantics. What if a learner says, instead of development, the learner says practical skills acquisition instead of development?
It is okay. Practical skill acquisition is very okay.
Okay, fine.
Okay. Okay. So we are going to continue. So I hope you have learned how to come up with your research title. Next, we have what we call the introduction. Now we have started, dear students, to build up we have started to build up our proposal. We have started with the research title, write it. Now, number 2 is what we call the introduction. Now, introduction is very important. Why? The introduction introduces the research topic, provides the information about a problem, and explains why your study is necessary. So, people who are reading your introduction should be able to see what is the study about. Why is this study important? And what are you intending to investigate? Dear students, you are an investigator. You want to investigate something. You want to carry out an inquiry. You want to examine. You want to uncover. Yes, so the word investigate, in fact, it has its etymology from Latin, meaning in Latin we call it investigare, which means to track. You want to trace where the problem is. So your introduction should bring out the issue very, very well. So when you're writing your introduction, there I'm going to give you what we call a 3-step approach. The 3-step approach is going to have the following things. Number one is what we call establishing a territory. Establishing a territory means that introduce the general topic and explain its importance. That is what we call establishing the territory. And establishing the territory, that's why I told you, always first identify what are the main issues within the scenario. Number 2, establish the niche. What do we call a niche? Sometimes they may ask you, what is your niche? So when we are looking at the niche, we are looking at highlight the existing problem using facts, using statistics and observations. That's why you're going to find that those scenarios, you are having some figures, you are having some statistics, some observations, some reports. Now, that's what we call establishing the niche. Number 3, occupy the niche. State why is the study necessary and explain what it intends to investigate. Sometimes I call this a funnel approach, where you are going to have the territory, the niche, and then you show us how you are going to occupy that niche. Okay. I'll give you an example when we are establishing a niche. We are going to start with a territory. Now, I'm going to use the last scenario I have given you to build a proposal. Now, when I'm establishing my territory, when you look at the last scenario, it was talking about the competence-based curriculum, it was talking about education and the rest of that. Now, that means that my opening statement is going to bring out that issue, that education plays an important role in preparing learners with practical skills needed for employment. Remember, your problem is that children are not acquiring skills. There are low practical skill acquisition among secondary children. Now here, when you are extracting, when you are coming up with your niche, you start with the bigger thing, that it is about education. It's about health. It's about maybe environment. So you say education plays an important role in preparing learners with the practical skills needed for employment, self-reliance, and national development. Then you start. Now, when you look at this second statement, you are noticing that this statement is coming directly from my scenario. Relate your introduction to the scenario that Uganda introduced the competence-based curriculum to promote practical learning and ensure that learners acquire knowledge, skills, and attitudes required for the world of work. To support practical learning, schools are expected to provide adequate laboratories, ICT facilities, and the rest of that. So when you check out everything I have here, it is from the scenario. I'm building up, I'm establishing the territory. So that's what I've called the funnel. That under the funnel, start with a bigger issue, which is now education. From there, you are going now to establish your niche. Okay, and we say that here, and when you are establishing the territory, you start with the general topic and explain its importance. Now, from there, we are going to go to the second step. Second step is establishing your niche. Now, the niche is going to tell us the problem and the current situation. Now, under this, when you are talking about your thing, please use things such as statistics. Let the statistics come out. The observation, the information from the reports, bring it out. In case the scenario has given you some statistics, quote it here, bring it out, such that they know you're a researcher. You are not just giving information from out. Any researcher reads books. So you shall say that despite these expectations, many secondary schools continue to experience inadequate learning infrastructure. According to the Ministry of Education and Sports census, remember, in senior 5, your teacher has taught you how to reference. You learned about how to reference using APA. So mean that when you are writing your research proposal, apply the APA. In case they taught you MLA, use the MLA style. Only 38 of government secondary schools. So here you back up with the thing. So when you check out, you are noticing that the problem is being identified, that there is inadequate learning infrastructure. What is going to result that many learners are not going to have opportunities to acquire these practical skills. You have told us the current situation. The current situation is being backed up with the statistics. You are telling us the problem, that the problem is we don't have infrastructures. Consequently, learners are not going to be able to acquire the practical skills for hands-on learning. Now, that is what we call establishing the niche. You are writing the introduction. Now, after establishing your niche, you are going to go to the next one, which is occupying the niche. Occupying the niche we are looking at. Now, this investigation you want to make, what is its purpose? Why are you doing it? What problem do you want to solve? What do you want to investigate? That your study seeks to investigate the relation between the infrastructures and the practical skill development. In case here you have used acquisition, then you'll tell us practical skill acquisition. Now, that's what we call occupying the niche. The last paragraph, when you are writing your introduction stroke background, should contain the purpose for your study. That's why when you look at the research proposal, we don't have a purpose in there, because the purpose is going to be captured within the last paragraph of your introduction or background. That's why I bolded it here, to show you that this is the purpose of the study. Now, that's what we call an introduction, or what we call now a good introduction stroke background. So I'm going to take on 2 questions. I think I'm going to start with Good Shepherd, and then Good Shepherd, unmute. In case they are not unmuting, we shall have Jessica. Okay, we are going to continue, but let me look through the chat in case there is any issue.
Hello?
Yes, please.
We need the explanations of the niche.
On a niche?
Yes.
And also the occupation of the niche.
And the breakdown of the niche.
Okay. So when we talk about a niche is what, like in case we are looking at a person or an individual, you as a student, if I ask you, what is your niche can be, what is your true calling? That one can be, what is in case I'm looking at what is like your special talent, something like that. Now, when we talk about a niche, we are looking at that ability to establish the existing problem using the facts, using statistics and observation. That is what? That here you are highlighting for us the real problem within the society, within the scenario. What is the real problem? And if you have identified the real problem, do you have statistics? Do you have observations? Do you have reports that can back up your observations? Or that's what we call a niche. Okay, okay, we are going to continue. Now, so that's how you write your introduction. So your introduction, or like your background, that's how we write it. But please ensure that when you are coming up with your introduction and your background, kindly make sure you do what? You back it up with the statistics in case the item has given you statistics, and justify, identify the gap, identify that gap that you want to investigate. Number 3, we have what we call problem statement. Now we are on 3, what we call problem statement. Now, when we talk about a problem statement, we are looking at the issue that you are going to describe in your study, why that thing is necessary. So a problem statement clearly describes that issue the study intends to investigate, and it goes on to explain why it is very important. Now, I'm going to take you through these 4 important parts. I've called them the 4-part structure. The 4-part structure. Now, the 4-part structure, number 1 is what we call an ideal situation. Your problem statement should contain an ideal situation. An ideal situation could be describing what should be or what ought to happen. I'll give you an example that when you're at school, you would expect that on Sundays you eat very well. At least the school gives you some meat, they give you some rice. But that is the ideal. You would expect that ideally, Saturdays and Sundays, you need to rest. But you find yourself, when it comes to reality, that on Sunday, there is the teacher coming for a morning lesson. Very early in the morning, at 5, you have a morning lesson. On Sunday evening, there is another what? Another lesson. Ideally, you'd think that your parents should check on you, at least on video, but sometimes you find that they are not even appearing. So you would think that ideally, when you put in efforts and you read, things are going to come out very well. You'll excel with good marks, but sometimes you may put in all the marks, the effort, and things do not turn out the other way around. So an ideal situation is the expected, is what you desire, that desired situation. Now, you would think that in every secondary school, they are implementing the what? The competence-based curriculum. You would think that in all schools, we should have infrastructure facilities for learning, such that we acquire those practical skills. That's what we call the ideal situation. When you are stating your problem statement, always we start with the ideal situation. Now, from the ideal situation, we go to what we call the reality. Like I've been giving an example of a school setting that you would expect that on Sundays, teachers don't occupy your time. At least you have some time to check on your friends, to rest. But what is the reality? That on Sundays, teachers are coming to lessons, are coming to teach. When I get another example, I would give that you would expect that once you are in senior 6, your parent gives you some good pocket money of at least 50,000. But what is the reality? That sometimes our parents give us 10,000 as pocket money for the whole term. Now that's the reality. Now, when you are writing your problem statement, start with the ideal. What do you think the situation would look like? But what is on the ground? So on what is on the ground is what we call the real situation. Now, the real situation describes exactly what is happening. What is happening is always obtained from your scenario. When you go back to the scenario, you do take note that, allow me to take you back to the scenario we are working on. When you come back to the scenario, you'd check out that in this scenario, they have told you what is actually happening within the what? Within the area. Because they have told that according to the Ministry of Education, from here, according to the Ministry of Education and Sports census, only 38% of have functional science laboratories, while this is what we call the reality on ground. Now, that is what forms your real within the scenario. So you need to take note of that. That reality is obtained from the scenario. And then the ideal, that's what you are thinking, could have been the best way. So when you are writing your reality, back it with data. Have some data. So, and when we are starting our reality, we say, however, many secondary schools, you could use other words. But you need to have that continuity, that now you are going to talk about the real world. So when you are talking about reality, back it with statistics. You can see the statistics here, 38% according to the reports, observations that are being made. That's what we call the real world. Now, from the real world, we have the third thing, is what we call the purpose of the study. Purpose means why. What will this study do? Then you continue and tell us, this study will therefore seek to investigate the relationship between this and the other. That is what we call now the purpose of the study when you are writing, when you are coming up with your research proposal. Then from there, you'd have a complete, I don't know whether okay. Then from there, you'll have a complete problem statement. So your problem statement will have the ideal, it will have the reality, it will have the effects and significance, and then it will have the purpose. Those things should come out clearly well when you are stating. So please take note that your problem statement will have those things. Now, let me give you an example of a problem statement. So I'm going to give you the ideal part. Ideally, every secondary school implementing the competence-based curriculum should provide adequate laboratories for this. However, many secondary schools, now this is what we call the real situation. Then from the real situation, we are going to go and say, what about the effect and significance? If a school does not have these laboratories, what is going to happen? If your school does not have, let me say, computer room, they don't have a laboratory, what happens? That if this situation continues, learners are not going to acquire those skills. What is it going to result into? It's going to have an effect on how the curriculum is being implemented. Now, this is what we call the effect and significance. Then, what is the purpose of your study? Now, this is what we call a problem statement at your level. At this level of ours, this is a good problem statement. So when you are coming up with a problem statement, so here, once you have this, depending on the code your teacher is going to be using, you will say problem statement. And here, they always, they can award you a score of 3. So they will ask, does he have the ideal part? Does he have the real part? Then the effect, and then the significance, and then they will give you that score. So please make sure that you have that. So I expect that you have the ideal situation. You clearly state what secondary schools should possess. Number 2, you tell us the reality, what is on ground. Number 3, your proposed action. Your proposed action. Here you state what the study intends to investigate. So your problem statement should be specific, it should be contextualized, and it should follow the structure of ideal, reality, and what your research is intended. So that is how we can have our problem statement. So I'm going to have some few schools as I wait for some schools maybe to write or to take a screenshot. Mugula SS, Ajuman. Mugula SS, Ajuman.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning.
I'm glad to attend this meeting today with my colleagues in Mungula Secondary School, the Jumani district. I would like to ask some few questions because personally and some of my students are worried the issue of this research, the research project, GP project research. Me personally, I've done my part up to today, but I'm not. This of laughing. I've done my part, but up to today, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, our teacher also came and said the project is still paused or is still on hold. And then up to today, I don't know where I am in my project, whether it is correct or not correct. And now you're bringing another proposal. Now, how will I know that my project is correct? As you're also bringing another way that in sample scenario question. So how will I know that my project is correct? My project proposal is correct. And then at the end, at the point of answering in the UNEB exam time, how will I know that I'm answering the right what? The right question. Oh, how will I know that my answer is correct? Oh, my project is what? My project proposal is correct. So that's the question I'm posing to you. And then the other thing is I'm looking at I'm a bit confused with the issue of do you want to tell us now that the project proposal is the one that was given to us? Is it officially cancelled? Oh, no, I have to ask. Yes,
Okay.
is it? Oh, it is still continuing. Oh, you are bringing it in another way around. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to respond to one, then the other I'll respond it at the end because someone has already asked and I had said that I will answer it at the end. Now, I want to bring to your attention, number one, is that before you go on and conduct any research in real life, you always have to come up with a proposal. Let me use an example of marriage. That before someone gets married to someone, they always have to first propose. Now, in case the proposal is accepted, then someone will go on and they'll get married. Now, in research, before you go on to do any project, the first thing you always start with is first write a proposal. Then after coming up with a proposal is like a plan. That's what I told that. A proposal is like a plan, how you are intending to do something. Now, after coming up with your proposal, then you go on and implement that. Now, what we are doing here, like I've taken you through, I have taken you through, or we are going through the different ways on how we can develop a proposal before you go on and implement that project. So when your proposal is okay, then you can go to the field and carry out that research. When you reach that university level or any other level of education or whatever, let me use an example of business. Before you go on to start a business, the first thing you always have to do is you have to study the environment, plan where you want to place your business. Now that's what we call the plan, the proposal. So you check out that I will need this, I will need this, I will need this. You have to first do some background check that in this area where I want to put my business, are there people who have been here? What were they experiencing? What do I want to get from the business? Now that's what we call a proposal. So in case you are going to any school, always the first thing you have to check out, how has this school been performing? Which value is this school going to add on me? What does this school have? What am I intending to obtain from this school? All of that is what we call a proposal. So what we are doing now is a proposal. But like I've said that in real life, we always experience different problems. That's why now we are trying. At the start, I have introduced you to different problems. And it is from those problems that you need to know how to come up with a proposal. That not all the times you create the problem yourself, but sometimes you are going to find a problem in society and you want to solve that problem. So how are you going to solve it? That's what we call a proposal. Okay, allow me now to move on now to another issue. Those who have the questions, I think I'll respond to the questions now at the end of the session. Now, we have what we call the objectives of the study. Now, when we are talking about the objectives of the study, we are looking at those statements that describe what the researcher intends to achieve in order for him to be able to solve the problem within society. So in order for you to be able to solve any given problem, you need to have objectives. In a school setting, many times as you go back to school, you need to first set out your objectives for the term. And as you are setting up the objective, like objectives, they give you direction. They give you a focus. They give you a step for tracking. That's what we call the objectives. So objectives, they are going to guide your research questions. They are going to guide which methodology are you going to use. How are you going to collect data? How are you going to analyze? And what could be the expected outcomes? That's what we call the objectives. Now, objectives, we have characteristics of a good objective. Now, good objectives will always start with what we call action verbs. That's the first thing. That a good objective will always start with an action verb. Action verbs are words that express physical or mental activities to be performed by any given subject. Here we look at words such as to assess, to examine, to determine. Those are what we call the action verbs. Number two, a good objective will focus on one idea only. In case your idea is to focus on laboratory facilities, we shall focus there. In case your idea is to focus on science laboratories or sports facilities, it will focus there. Number three, they should be realistic and achievable. If you are setting the objective, you need to check out that surely, am I going to be able to achieve this? Is it realistic? If you tell us that let me say objective, like let me give you a vague objective. A vague objective can be to read the whole, let me say economics book in one day. All the topics you have covered. Yes, it is achievable, but is it realistic? Number four, it should relate to the research problem. Those are what we call the characteristics. And then on top of that, you add your SMART specific, you add the SMART acronym. Now, we have what we call action verbs. I've told you action verbs are the ones that express the physical thing to be performed. Now, some of the words, when you are stating your objectives, some of the words you could be determine, assess, examine, identify. Those are very good words to use. Determine, assess, examine. Most of these ones. Then you can add on others. Then there are those that are very vague. Please never use these words when you are stating your objectives. Like to know, to understand, to learn, to appreciate, to think. Please avoid using those words more so when we are using. Here, the only word this word here, appreciates, can be used, but it depends on which domain you are going to assess. Yeah. But these ones, you may not be able to know someone. Yes, and you cannot say that I know that person. No, you can only observe the person, but you cannot know the person. Because what the person is thinking, you may not know it. The person may be thinking to slap you. So you can observe, but you don't know. Understanding keeps varying. Today you may see the person, you think you understood him. The next day the person is totally different. So please take note of some of the action verbs we use. So what are the steps when you are developing the objectives? Number one, read the scenario. Read the scenario. At this step, we have already identified our research title. From research title, we went on to have the independent variable. Now, when we are developing the independent variable, I told you that under the independent variable, you were identifying under the independent variable. You kept on identifying things that under school infrastructures, what are you going to look at? That I'm going to look at laboratory facilities, I'm going to look at ICT facilities, I'm going to look at workshop and sports facilities. Now, those are the things under infrastructures. Now, these things under infrastructures are the ones that are going to support you to form your objectives. That's why I kept telling you that identify the factors influencing the problem. Now, those are the ones that are going to be used for you to be able to come up with your objective. Every factor you were able to identify under infrastructure is an objective. Laboratory facilities is an objective. ICT facilities is an objective. School farms, maybe workshop facilities is another objective. So those are 3 objectives, and always we encourage that you develop 3 research objectives. Obviously, there can be more than that, but we do not encourage you to go beyond the 3. But if you can, it is okay. But 3 is the recommended number. Now, after identifying now the objectives, you are going to go on and come up with and link these objectives to your DV. Now, an example here, I'm going to relate the lab facilities with my IV, which is practical skill development. I'm going to link the ICT facilities to practical skill acquisition. I'm going to link my farm activities with the skill development. Now, that's how you are going to link. But like I told you earlier on in April, that objectives can be of many mappings. And here I always encourage that you can go in for many to 1, whereby you have very many, you have 1, 2, 3 matching to 1. That's what we call many to 1 mapping. So that one is very okay. But in case you are very strong and maybe your teacher has told you, you can go in for many to many and the rest of that. But I encourage always have 3 research objectives, but each research objective you come up with should be related to your problem and should be derived directly from your independent variable. Okay, now I'm going to give you an example. These ones can be my examples. I know they are not the best, but they can give you a hint on how you can come up with a research objective. When you look at my research objective, I'm relating laboratory facilities to practical skill development. I'm looking at ICT facilities to practical skill development. I'm looking at workshops and sports facilities to practical skill development. So I'm breaking my IV into DV. And when you check here, I'm only looking at specific objectives. Why? I don't need a general objective because your general objective is always stated by the purpose. Yes, so since we included the purpose in the introduction, we have included the purpose in the problem. We don't need, here we need only specific objectives. And also I want you to learn how to vary the action verbs. If you are short of vocabularies, it is okay to use to determine, and the rest. But if you have very many vocabularies, better to say to determine, to assess, to examine. So that's how you develop those research objectives. Now, from research objectives, we have what we call research questions. When we talk about research questions, we are looking at those things whose answers you are looking for. There are those things whereby you need the answers. Now, your research questions are derived directly from your objectives. So your research questions are the ones that are going to guide you. How are you going to collect data? How are you going to analyze? And how are you going to interpret the findings? That is what we call research questions. And research questions should be written as a question. What is this? The research question focuses on one issue. Every objective you have developed should give us a research question. It should be a question. So, and number 3, please take note. As you are arranging your research question, your research questions should match the order of your objectives. The way you have arranged your objectives is the same way or is the same order through which you have to write your research questions. An example, you could see that here I've given an objective. to determine the availability and adequacy of laboratory facilities that support practical skill development. Now, here as a research question, I've said, what is it? Now, this is a question, this is an objective. Objective, we say to determine this, to assess this. Then research question, we shall say, what is this? To what extent is this? Now, that is the difference between the two. So when you are stating those two things, please make sure that each objective you have developed, there is a research question, and have them in the order. So from your research objectives, then you go to your research question. For people who are going to use the hypothesis, it is also okay. You can go on and use your hypothesis, depending on what the scenario is about and what you want to achieve. Okay, then we have another section we call the methodology, data collection, and sampling. Now, when we talk about methodology, we are looking at the overall plan that explains to you as a researcher how you are going to collect the data, how you are going to respond to the research questions, and how are you going to be able to achieve the objectives. So here we are looking at how are you going to collect the data? Are you using questionnaires? Are you using interview? Are you analyzing documents? How are you going to analyze data? What tools are you going to use to analyze data? That maybe, are you going to use SPSS? Are you using R? Are you using Excel? How are you going to present data? So those are some of the issues we shall consider. Now, I want you to take note of the following. In your methodology, as you are writing your paragraph for methodology, all these 5 things should come up clearly. Your approach, the design, the study population, sampling technique, and the data collection methods. I'm going to pause. Please take note that your approach should come out very well. Your research design should come out very well. So, and let me first break them. Now, when we are looking at the research approach, we are looking at the description of the type of data you are going to collect. Is it quantitative? When you hear the word quantitative, comes from quantity, number. Here under quantity, what type of data are you going to collect? When you were doing the individual project with your teachers, you went out and collected the data from the field. What did you use? What did you use, and which data were you collecting? That maybe in my form, I asked people about age. I asked people about the class they are in. I asked them about the number of years spent in a school, number of years they have worked. Now, that's what we call quantitative data. Quantitative data looks at digits, looks at numbers. Then we have what we call qualitative approach. Qualitative, we are looking at things that are described using words. Take an example that maybe when you went there, you were able to interview your head teacher, and the head teacher described something that the new curriculum is a very good curriculum if it is implemented by people who are willing. Now, that is a descriptive approach. So that is what called qualitative data. Then we have what called the mixed methods. Mixed methods, it means that you are looking at using the two of them. You are using quantitative and qualitative data approaches. Now, if you are using quantitative and qualitative, it means that you are using what called mixed methods. Let me say, for that case, those who have been able to do the individual projects very well, as specified in the syllabus by any CDC, you must have checked that you could find yourself that when you are collecting your data, you went on with an interview, and also you had the questionnaires where you asked different things. So the data you collected from there, you can sum it and say, I'm going to analyze, I'm going to have quantitative and then the qualitative. Then we have what called research designs. Research designs describes the overall plan for conducting the study. So that means it can be descriptive in nature. It can be a case study like the ones we are dealing with, like the one we are dealing with, that you cannot sample the whole of Uganda, but we are just taking a case of some few schools within Wakiso district. It can be descriptive in nature or correlation. Correlation is where you are looking at the relationship between any two things. Let me say you are trying to look at the relation that exists maybe in areas or in hospitals where you have young doctors and old doctors. That is what we call that. Then we have the study population. Who is going to participate in your study? Are they learners? Are they teachers? Are they parents? Are they school administrators? Are they pupils? Are they community members? Are they government officials? That's what we call the study population. Those people you are going to interview, or those people you interviewed, that's what we call the study population. Then we have what we call the sampling technique. How are you going to choose the participants? If you have gone to a school, let me say you have gone to Ndeche SS, how are you going to choose those people who are going to participate in your study? Now, that one is what we call the sampling technique. Now, the sampling techniques, we have basically 4, but there are many. We have very many sampling techniques. The first one, we have what called simple random sampling. Now, what is simple random method sampling? This is the approach whereby every individual in that population has an equal independent chance of being selected. So here, let me say you have gone to a school. What you do, in case I've gone to school, I just give out my papers randomly. Any child I find, I give them. That's what we call simple random sampling. Then we have what called purposive. Purpose, that you do it with a purpose. Now, purposive means we call it a non-probability research approach, whereby you deliberately select participants or people basing on maybe expertise, number of years, experiences, such that you get a case in point. Like here, in case you have gone to a school, you may be interested in people who have been in school for very many years. So you will say, I will test the head teacher, I will ask maybe those are the people that I need. That's what we call purposive. The purpose, you have a reason why you want these particular people, because maybe they have quite a lot of information. Maybe these people are experienced. Maybe these people have been in this school for a longer period of time. That's what we call the purposive sampling technique. Then we have what called systematic sampling. Now, systematic is a probability sampling approach whereby you select members of population at regular fixed intervals. So here, take an example under systematic. Under systematic, let me use an example. You may go to a school. I'm using a school case. And here, you want senior 1 children. Then what are you going to do? You are going to come here and say, you can have, let me say, you make your cards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let me say 7 cards. And then what are you going to do? You are going to play your game of probability. And then you say, you'll put different numbers. And then you say that in case you got a red card, you are the person I'm going to take on. That's what we call systematic sampling. Here you select members of the community at regular fixed intervals. You calculate your sampling interval by dividing all the population, and then you select some few people, but in a random way. We call it sampling technique. So another example you can use that you may go to a school whereby you want 1,000 people, or whereby you want 50 people for your research, but the school has 1,000. But now what does it mean? You cannot give all the members within the school, but you need now to be more systematic and say maybe if you have this particular number, you are the person who is going to participate. Then the last one, we call it the stratified strata. That is the last one. the stratified what? Technique. When we talk about stratified technique, is where a population is divided into subgroups based on shared characteristics or age or income and the rest of that. I'll give an example is that in a school setting, when we talk about stratas, it can be maybe S1s, S2, S3, S4, S5, S6. Those are stratas. Now, in case I want another one, I can call it maybe, let me say, in case I want my research, I can say, I want people only aged 45 years. So, but I divide my research, I say, I want people of 45, people of 60, people of 75. Or I may want a particular gender only, that I'm interested in this particular gender. So what I do, I say I'm going to pick one person of 45, 60, and 70, 75. That's what we call the strata approach. So here you divide the population into sub groups. You have a whole population. This is the whole population, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 people. Then from the whole population, you first, okay, let me draw it such that you understand. Let me say this is a population. Then out of this population, this is the whole population. I'm just giving you an example. That this is the population. From this population, you decide to say, let me first pick out the black. Then from the black, I pick out the pink. Then from the pink, I go on to pick out those green. Now, here, now you get the whole population and then specify them that these are the green, pink, and then the black. Then from here, this here arranging is what we call the strata. Then from there, I'm going to do random selection. So by random selection, I get these strata as I are formed. I randomly pick some few people. So after randomly selecting those people, I'll have now to go on and I get a sample. That's what we call stratified sampling technique. Now, depending on the question you are responding to, depending on what you are doing, these are some of the sampling techniques. Simple, random, purposive, systematic, and stratified. But like I've said, there are many others we have things like cluster, we have quota, we have multi-stage, convenience, snowball, all those are techniques. But it depends on what your teacher went through at your school. Then we have what called data collection methods. Data collection methods, we are looking at how did you collect data at your school. I know your schools you have been doing in the video project. How were you collecting data? That maybe we used questionnaires. I interviewed people. I made observations. Sometimes, let me say, you're looking at infrastructures. You are going to make observations. I'm going to go to this school, and what am I observing? I'm looking at sports facilities. So you check that do they have a pitch? Do they have a swimming pool? Do they have this and the other? That's what we call observation. Interviews, you want to go deeper and know more about this particular institution. Questionnaires, there are things people may not reveal. Like if I ask you, what is your age? You may not be proud to tell me that maybe you are 14, 15 years. But if I give you a questionnaire and tell you, tell me the range for your age, then you can be very good to tell me. But also it can be document review. Now, how do you write? How do you write? Now, this is what we call a sample of methodology, data collection, and sampling. So when you check here, I have showed you all those three things. That which research approach am I going to use? That I'm going to adopt a mixed method research approach. You can see it. Then you always need to tell us why you are using that approach, because it will collect both quantitative and qualitative data. Then from there, you are going to tell us the design. The design is going to be descriptive. Why? Because it will enable me or the researcher to describe the current state of infrastructure and skill development. That is my first. Then you are going to tell us, what is your study population? The study population will have learners, teachers, and school administrators from selected schools within WACSU. Now, from there, you are not saying that I told you, have a research approach, have a design, have a study population. Now we are going to the technique. Which technique? I'm going to use simple random sampling. Will be used to select learners because every learner will have this. Now, when it comes to to the sampling techniques, you can have more than 2, depending. Then purposive. Why am I using purposive? Because in case I'm going to talk about sports facilities, I cannot call on any, let me say, a cook or maybe another. I will be interested in the physical education teachers or teachers that are in charge of sports. Now, that's why I'm using purposive sampling. Then from there, how are you going to collect data? That data is going to be collected using questionnaires, interview, observation, document review checks. And you tell us why have you chosen those particular approaches and what are they going to do. So that's what we call the data collection thing. So when you are writing, please make sure that that chapter, you tell us the design, you tell us the approach, you tell us the preparation, the technique, and also you go on and give us a detailed thing. So everything here is going to be scored. So they depending on the code that they can use or what your teacher is using, they can say MD, meaning methodology, data collection. And then they can say, here it is free, as long as they have seen the approach, mixed method, the design, descriptive, the technique is there, the study preparation is there, the approach of collecting the data. But also, I want you now to learn that when you are writing this particular aspect of data, because here we do not only teach you to do things for passing, but I always want you to learn what even happens in real life. That under this approach, you need also to put into consideration what we call ethical considerations. When we talk about ethical considerations, we are looking at how are you going to be doing the ethical considerations, that you need to obtain relevant information. And this is where you need to be very careful when it comes to ethics. Because let me hope your teachers have already told you that when you are conducting research, you do not just go to the environment or to the community and just say, I've come to conduct research. You need to seek permission. In Uganda, we have what we call National Research Information Management Systems. For any researcher that is going into the field, you apply to get a certificate, such that now they know that this person is coming in our area, this person is here and here. Let me say you are in the field of medicine. Before you test your drug, you need a certificate because people are going to use your medicine. So you have to test them. That's all that falls under what we call ethics. So under ethical consideration, I want you to learn that you need always to inform. Sometimes we call it uninformed consent. That you need now to inform people what you are going to do, why you are conducting the research, that it's going to be voluntarily, that you are going to protect their data. Whenever you collect data from the field, you are not allowed to go and share it anyhow, if that person has not allowed. So you need to keep that confidentiality of the person. So please make sure that you have some components that makes you unique. And that's one of them we call ethical considerations. So please take note of that. So that's what we call that phase. Another one now is what we call data analysis and interpretation. Now, under data analysis and interpretation, what do we look at? or what is contained within data analysis and interpretation. Now, data analysis is the process of organizing, summarizing, and interpreting the information you have obtained. Whenever you go to the field and you have gathered your data, you need to make sense from the data. When you receive your report and you do not analyze it, it might not make sense. If you have received your report and there are no marks, many times it does not make sense. But for it to make sense, you must summarize, organize your data very well, and then you interpret. Whenever you score marks in the paper, ask yourself, what went wrong? What can I do better? Now, that is, you are interpreting. You are trying to analyze something to get deeper sense that I read very well for this paper. But why are things not adding up? What might have gone wrong and what can I do better? So, this particular aspect of data analysis, you are trying to answer the research questions and to see how you are going to achieve the objectives of the study. Now, a good data analysis plan, one, should always be linked to your research questions. You must state for us how the quantitative and qualitative data is going to be analyzed. How are you going to present your findings? Like those who are doing math, I know each one of you has done math at all levels. How were you presenting your data? You remember in one of the sections of math, you had data, and your teachers told you, present right there the presentation approach. So you need to tell us that, are you going to use tables? That yes. Are you going to use pie charts? Yes. Are you going to use, which kind of thing are you going to use to present your data? So I'll give you an example. Steps in data analysis and interpretation. Now, the first step is you must prepare your data. Under preparation of the data, you have to edit and organize. Allow me to first stop sharing for a minute. Allow me to stop sharing for a minute. Yeah, a minute. I am on. I wanted to show you that part very well, a bit more practical, other than just talking about it. Okay, give me another minute. Okay. I'm going to give you an opportunity to ask, so you will allow me to first complete, and then at the end, we shall have some minutes to ask the questions. Okay. I want to first display something, but in case it's failing, then I will move on. Okay, now whenever you collect data from the field, you have to do what? You have to organize that data. Why? Because the data you receive from the field, it is very dirty data. I want to use the word dirty. That is a bit more disorganized. So when you look at my screen, I'm showing you a sample of, wait. Okay, I'm showing you a sample of the data. Now, this is part of the data I collected from the field. So when you look at this data here, you are not seeing that the data is not well organized. You are not seeing that there are spaces in here. You are looking at some people didn't fill some parts and the rest of that. Now, always the first step to do when you are analyzing your data, you have to, the first step is you prepare, you edit and organize the data you have collected. So take an example. If this is my data, you are going to allow me to just pick a few of them to show you practically what you have to do. So allow me to pick few things here. I'm going to use Excel just because I want to be a bit more practical. So what do you need to do? When you are organizing your data, first edit and remove whatever thing you don't need. Take an example, you don't need this. I'm going to come and I delete it because I don't need it. Number two, in case there is any other thing you don't need, you remove. Now, when you are going to analyze data, you cannot analyze data if you have spaces like these spaces here. So what you do, you can get a word or something, you place in there. Let me say, wherever you have space, now this column had board members. So you can say that where there are members, I will put just the letter T, maybe T, just anything such that that space is filled. Because whenever it's not, then you'll have issues. Here where there is no class, you can say maybe I'll put SS like that. So you first organize your data in that particular format. Then after that, you need to know that in data analysis, when you are analyzing your data, any system you are going to use, you are not going to be using what? You are not going to use, let me say, years or words. You have to give them a code. That's what we call coding. Coding means that you give them a code. Let me say you can come and say that wherever I'm going to find 20 to 23 years, that's going to be my number one. That is what we call a code. That where I'm going to find 31 and 40, that one I'm going to call it number 2. Where I'm going to find 41 to 50, that one I'm going to call it number 3. That is what we call coding. So that means that in your data, here where you have those years, you are going to replace them by these codes 1, 2, and 3. So that means that I hope, okay, I'm just doing this practically such that you understand. So that means that if you're going to put those codes, you can come here. Hope you are seeing here where we have replace. Allow me to first highlight this. Allow me to first highlight this, that I'm going to come here in this column. Then I'll come and say replace. And then I'll put that wherever I have this 21, I'm going to put 1. And I say replace for all. Then I'll come and I say wherever I have 31, like here, I'm going to replace with 2. Then I replace all. Then I'll come and say where I have this, okay, I'll replace with 3. So I'll say replace. Wait, replace all. Something like that, yeah? So now this is what we call coding. That you are giving codes to different things. The same thing will happen, let me say for bachelors, you say where there is bachelor, I'll give 1. Diploma 2, like that. So that is the process we call coding responses where necessary. Then after now you have converted your every digit of yours into digits, the next step you are going to do is going to be now, you are going to get this data and you put it in a good software. You can analyze, Excel can do for you some analysis. Let me say finding addition, frequencies, those things. It can draw for you pie charts. It can take an example. Now I want to just go back a step. Let me say now for Excel, in case, okay, I think, okay, allow me to go back a bit here to show you something, again. I'm going to, let me go back to my responses. Okay, those are my responses, but here, allow me to put that this was 21 to 30. Allow me to put here that this was 31 to 40, and maybe this was 41 to 50. So what you do now, I can come here and I tell here to count if, but now those ones I've gone deep. Allow me not to go there, but those who want, you will go to what we call count if, and then they will count for you how many ones you have, how many twos you have, and everything. Then from there, you can analyze further. But that one, I know your teachers, have taught you something similar to that when you were analyzing your data. Now, you first clean your data. That is always the first step that I want you to learn, yes, or to know about. So after that, you are going to allow me to share my screen again. Okay. I think my screen is on. It's coming. Okay, so now that is the first part I was showing. We call it preparing your data. So you edit and organize the data you have collected. You code responses where necessary, and then after you enter your data in an appropriate software. Some of the softwares we can use, these are some of the softwares depending. But here at your level, depending on your level, on how you're using technology. I know some of you may know how to use some of these softwares. You know how to do the coding. So it is okay to mention them. That makes you a unique person. It makes you an exception child. So you can say, I'll edit, organize the data. Then from there, I've showed you how to clean and validate the data, that in case there are any missing values, you put something. In case there are errors, you do something. In case the data is not complete, you also clean the data. Then from there, you are going to go to analyzing the data. Now, when it comes to analyzing the data, you need to know quantitative data. How do we analyze it? That quantitative data, we use frequencies, percentages, mean, standard deviation. You did all these ones. All those who do principal math, you have looked at frequencies, percentages, mean, standard deviation. Each one of you in senior one, you looked at percentages, you looked at frequencies, you looked at average, and those of submath, you have also looked at standard deviation. Then all of us here looked at correlation in senior 3 when you are looking at scatter diagram. You looked at briefly about it, yeah, but not at details. But those of submath and principal math, you have looked at correlation and maybe a bit of regression. Now, when it comes to qualitative data, we use what we call thematic analysis. Thematic comes from the word theme, that for it, we organize it in terms of themes. Allow me also now to show you an example of that, what we call thematic analysis, such that at least you have an idea when we talk about thematic. So we organize it in terms of themes, that when you are going to organize this data, let me say you are going to be, give me a minute, I show you a bit of thematic analysis. Okay, I'm just showing you such that even if you forget, at least you have a hint on what you call thematic analysis. So I've opened the document. It's going to be able to open. Okay, now this is what we call thematic thing. That one, I have a theme, that maybe the theme is about professional practices and their impact. Then after, you are going to come and have them in terms of themes. This is what we call thematic, something like that, in terms of themes. Themes in terms of small subtitles. Then, also, when you look at that, I think you have also noticed that I've showed you a bit of, I've showed you a bit of mean. Those who looked at that document I was sharing, there was a bit of mean, standard deviation on it. So that is it. Now from there, I think I have showed you this. Then we have the presentation. How are you going to present? So presenting, it can be frequency table, bar graphs, pie charts, depending on what you are presenting. Let me say you want to show the levels of education. You can say, let me use a bar graph. You want to show the age, you can say, let me use the bar graph. You want to show maybe male and female, you can use a pie chart. So depending on the data, but these are different ways you can have your findings presented. So you can present them using that. Then how do we interpret? When we are interpreting these results, we always respond to each research question that you had. You address each objective and then you explain what your findings mean in response to the scenario or the problem within the scenario. That's what we call interpreting of the findings. Then from there, we have what we call drawing conclusions and recommendations. So here you tell us your key findings, give us a conclusion, and then you make practical recommendations. Okay, then that is what we call a sample that we can look at when they ask you to write, when you're writing about data analysis and interpretation. Now, when you look at what I have shared, I am showing you a few things. One, I'm showing you how are you going to collect your data. So I've shown that the collected data will be first edited, organized, coded, and entered into Microsoft for analysis, where appropriate software such as this may also be used to analyze quantitative data. Then I went on and told you that quantitative data will collected through questionnaires, and please note the language that here you are reporting, you are telling us what will happen, what you will do, that the data that is going to be collected will through questionnaires, this and this, will be analyzed using frequencies. The findings will be presented because I told you, you must show us how are you going to present your data and how are you analyzing it. Then from there, remember, I've told you that for each objective, you tell us how are you going to summarize, how are you going to tell it. Then you'll tell us that qualitative data collected through interviews will be analyzed using thematic analysis. Now here that you have things like small titles, whereby all that information you have got from head teachers, what, you will tell us, according to the head teacher, this and this and this. According to this person, this and this. So that's what we call thematic analysis. So you tell us basing on what you have got from the field. But that is qualitative data. That data you get from interviews. So when they talk about thematic analysis, we are looking at that qualitative research method that you use to analyze and interpret recurring patterns within a data set, such as surveys, field notes, and the rest of that. Finally, you tell us the last paragraph is about how are you going to interpret the data, or what does the interpretation mean? That the findings will be interpreted according to this and this. So this is a sample on how you can write your final thing in your proposal. Then from there, we have the last section. Allow me, I'm going to summarize it quickly because we have few minutes. We have what called expected outcomes, significance, and conclusion. Now, expected outcomes, significance, and conclusion. Expected outcomes is what are you anticipating to obtain from your research. That's what called expected outcomes. Now, expected outcomes come from your research questions. And each of the research question, each of the objective will generate an expected outcome. And write them in the order through which you had your objectives. In case it was objective 1, your expected outcome should be related to that. So that's what we call expected outcomes. Expected outcomes, we expect to have at least 3. At least 3 means a minimum of 3 or more than that. So you can have 3, 4, 5, 6, as long as you think whatever thing you're going to expect to come out from your project is going to work. So I can have something like this for my expected outcome, that the study is expected to determine the availability of this, establish this, identify this, and this. So, depending on your school, you can as well have this in a paragraph form, depending on how your teacher has recommended you or has told you to write your expected outcome. But all your expected outcomes are going to be coming from what? Your objective. So each objective, let it generate one, and then from there, you can have others. Then we have what called significance of the study. Significance, we are looking at which people are going to benefit from your findings. Now, in case we are dealing with the other village for water, which people are going to get to be what? To benefit. Now, there, it means that community members are going to benefit because they will get water. Which other people are going to benefit? You tell us whoever is going to benefit from your project. In case now, for the one we are looking at, which people are going to benefit, we can look at Ministry of Education, teachers, learners, parents, researchers, and community. From your proposal, who are other stakeholders that are going to benefit from this study? Now, that's what causes significance of the study. And when you are writing, that's why also I want you to be very informed about the different ministries we have. One of the key people who benefit are the ministries. So you need to know, in case the question is about water, which ministry is there? In case the question is about this, which ministry is there? In case the question is here, which ministry is here? Such that you are well informed as you are arranging. And when you are arranging them, you start with the top stakeholder, and then you go in that particular order. Then, how do you write your significance? This is a sample that the finding of this study or of this research will benefit the Ministry of Education. You mention the stakeholder who is going to benefit and how is going to benefit. School administrators, how are they going to benefit? Teachers, how are they going to benefit? Learners, how are they going to benefit? What about future researchers? How are they going to benefit? You tell us whoever is going to benefit from your project and how that particular person is going to benefit from what you are telling us. So that's what we call the significance of the study. Okay, so please ensure that your significance matches with the stakeholder and how that stakeholder is going to benefit. In case it is, let me say, in case for this time round, it was, let me say, learners, or let me say, community members, you tell us they'll be able to get fresh water. In case it was maybe, any other thing, but you tell us how they're going to benefit at the end of the day. Then the last thing is what we call the conclusion. Now, this is the last paragraph that will summarize for us your study, how important it is, and then the call to action or recommendation. That's what we call the call to action. And this is a sample of what we call an expected outcome. And that's how you can state that expected outcome. So your conclusion should have the three things. Number one, it should have the outcome. What do you expect to find? Number two, significance, who benefits and how. Number three is the conclusion, what is the final message, and a call to action. So that is what we call an expected outcome, conclusion, and then we shall have the significance. So here, in case they are awarding, they will say now outcome. It will depend on the code they will use, but they can use OC to mean outcome, then conclusion. Sometimes they can say OSC, but mainly they use two codes, and then they will give it a maximum of what? Maximum of 3. So you'll find that's how they may score it. Then at the end, we shall look at the structure of the flow of your work. So, dear students, That is how you can write your expected outcome. So which core areas do you need to know? So your scenarios can come from any of the topics, can come from anywhere, It can come from, those scenarios can come from any of these. It can be from social issues, culture, education, human rights, challenges of developing countries. It can come from economics, globalization, science and technology. All these ones, you can find that there are scenarios coming from any of those 11 topics. So please take note that the scenarios can come from any of these areas. Okay, so that is briefly how your research can look like. I don't know, I wanted to show you an example of one of the. Okay, I'm going to display my screen a bit here, such that you can look at a complete. Okay, when you look at my screen, this is a complete research proposal. This is a complete research proposal. It has the title of the research. It has an introduction and background. You can see it has the problem statement. Then from problem statement, you have your objectives, research questions, then the methodology you're going to use, the sample design, the techniques, the data analysis and interpretation, the expected outcomes, significance of the study, conclusion. Yeah, so this is a complete one, research proposal for general paper that you can be using or that you can come up with when it comes for an exam setting. So that is how it can look like when you are responding or when you are writing your research proposal. Okay, with that, allow me to say we shall end here, but let me take on a few questions. Question number 1, I've seen in the chat, sir, is the logic part? I want to say no, we do not have logic. We only have project work. We have project or research proposal. That's what we have. And under research proposal, please remember you are covering individual project, so it can be from anywhere. They can even ask you to develop questionnaires. A scenario can come when they want you to develop a questionnaire because they expect to have learned how to develop questionnaires. Yeah. Then let me start taking on some hands, but you will allow me, I take on only 6. Others you can place in the chat because I have another engagement in a few minutes from now. Okay, Infinix, unmute. Kibuku SS, unmute. Yes, Infinix.
Okay, the question which I want to ask is about how to research on the objectives. So they have given us is it research approach, design, data preparation, sampling techniques. So they are in the scenario. How do you identify them that this step is here and this is here? That's what I wanted to ask.
Okay, have you just joined or you have been on a call?
I've just joined.
Okay, I'm going to ask you that you will watch the recording because we have talked about it. We have talked about how to develop research objectives. Chibuk SS.
Teacher, under new
Yes.
curriculum, we have been hearing that communication is very essential, and it is mostly the first item in section A.
Come again,
that communication, they have been it, yeah? That as the first item and it is compulsory under section A. And the other thing is that we don't know, is that question which you was telling us, is it from section A or section B? Thank you.
Okay, number one, yes, communication is very important for section A, and that's why you need to remember your function writing from O level, and then you add up what you have learned in senior 6. The item we are working on is item 2 of 3. So when you look at section B focuses mainly on project proposals. Yeah. So it is section B, and when you look at section B, it's mainly a proposal. And when you look at the syllabus, you will check out that from senior 5, term 2, term 3, term 1, senior 6, you'll find that many of the things you are covering are rotating about projects. Yeah. Okay. Ndeche SS. Okay. Ndeche SS, I'm not getting you. Adolf High School. The research questions should be how many? Research questions should correspond to the number of objectives you have. If you have written 3, we should have 3 research questions. Adolf High. Okay, I've failed to get. Light vocational.
So what we are asking,
yes,
asking about the tense we should use, and then either doing a a science project or art project, then pages and words and appendices and references.
Okay. Now, number one, when you are coming up with what? With a project proposal, since you have not yet conducted it, we shall expect you to use a future tense, because those are activities that have not happened, but you are planning to conduct them. Apart from when you are dealing with a few sections, but many of the sections is going to be future tense, because you are yet to do them. Then number 3, there are 2 things I want you to please take note of. We have what we call an individual project that you are supposed to be doing. In your school, we call it individual project. Individual project is a complete project. But before you started that project, you must have done a project proposal. So the project proposal is what comes first before you start on a project, individual project. So I've given you the format of a proposal, and then now when it comes to your individual project, the individual project you are carrying on, it has different sections. It has the introduction, chapter 1, chapter 2 of literature review, it has chapter 3 of methodology, then it has of data, and then it has the one for conclusion. That is for your individual project. So your individual project will have all those things, appendices, it will have references and the rest. But when you are writing your proposal for an exam, what I have taken you through is what you write. Whatever thing we have mentioned is what you write for an exam, but the ones you are going to present to your schools, the books you are going to print, you have to include all the chapters. Do you set objectives basing on the IV? Yes, because it is the course. But I've said it depends on what your teacher has taught you. Some may have taught you many to many, many to one, because there are different types of objectives. But personally, I always encourage using many to one. Kayanja Timothy, Rogers.
Yes,
Good
thank you so
Shepherd.
much, sir.
Yes.
My question was, you've shown us the sample, you're answering the question we're dealing with.
Yes.
But help me if you can spread the slide again so that we can again see the way you answered the scenario in its order. Thank you.
Now, the scenario we have answered. The scenario we have answered. We answer. Hope you were here from the start.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember, I showed you 4 scenarios. And from all those 4 scenarios, we have zeroed down to 1. And we have going through all the steps I showed you at first.
Yeah, of course. That's what I need you to display on the screen. Yeah.
The steps.
No, you show how you answered it. As in your full comparison for the scenario.
This was the scenario we have been answering.
Yeah.
Yes. So what do you want?
Then go the answers to the scenario, the one you summarized starting from the title up to the conclusion.
Oh, now that one I will share with you the recording because those are about 50 slides from the start. Everything we have been looking, we have been zeroing down to that scenario. All these ones.
Maybe at the last, go to the last slides.
Okay. So that was the last. Okay. I think Good Shepherd. Okay. I think I'll fail to get Good Shepherd. Okay. Conceptual framework, have it in your individual project. Conceptual framework supports you to derive, to come up with your research objectives. And if you have followed very well, I showed you how to get that conceptual framework, though I did not draw it. But how you get those factors influencing is what we call the conceptual framework. Okay. Is the individual project still valid? Yes. Please and please continue working out. For those children who have done the individual project, I want to let you know that section B is going to be easy for you. Whatever scenario they are going to give you, you'll be able to interpret. Why? Because the individual project gives you the practical way of doing things that you are not going to cram. If you have analyzed data, you don't even need to read. You just do it practically. You write from the exposure. The only thing, please, I don't want you to do what? To misinterpret the letter you saw from UNEB. The letter you saw from UNEB was informing schools that UNEB is not going to take on the continuous assessment. In other words, they are not going to take on the scores like what they were doing in the other curriculum. The only thing that they are going to look out for is going to be your ability to use that knowledge you have acquired from your individual project to answer and respond. So please and please pay attention. Don't go with what they are telling that no. Please do it practically. Life is going to become much easier. Where you are heading for university and other institutions, you are going to find the same thing. They will not repeat them for you. They will assume that you learned them. And that is the extended essay you are supposed to be doing. So please continue working and collaborating with your teachers such that you can be in position to do it. Then the person asking about APA is the referencing style. Is the referencing style when we are referencing work. It stands for American Psychological Association style. and we mainly use the 7th edition. Okay, I think we shall end here. Other schools, I may not be able to respond to all your questions, but the recording will be in the in the what? On YouTube that you can access. Remember, this session I have summarized what we did for a number of days. So, but I'm going to ask St. Cornelius Kalagala. You are going to get for us one child to give us a closing prayer. Yeah, a closing prayer. Yes, St. Cornelius Kalagala. Now, that session, you'll find it on this YouTube channel. Allow me to display it. Here, you'll check out for holistic e-learning platform. Then check out under the playlist. Under the playlist, this is those who are doing some math. You'll find some work here. This is math A level. Then you'll find it here because it is a wide thing. So those who have ever, in case you want to watch more what, you'll come here. They are here in case there is anything you want more. I explained them here in details. So you can come here in case there's anything you are asking, there's anything you have not obtained, just come here. You'll find many of those things being captured here for your extended essay here, and you'll find that video here as well. Then other resources that you may use, still you can check out here. I've seen someone who was asking about math seminar. We have conducted those math seminars. For this was biology, this was math, so we may not repeat them for now, but you can utilize the YouTube channel to access some of those seminars that maybe you missed. This was entrepreneurship yesterday but one. This was economics yesterday but one. This was literature for yesterday. So you can find many of those things here such that you can support yourself. Maybe another thing maybe I can share is the Padlet link where you are going to find some of these documents posted. The Padlet link, that's where we post some work. Let me say you have not been able to go in for some seminars, some things, you can use the Padlet link. The Padlet link, it is here. So many of the papers that take place in different districts for A level, we post them here. So you can come here and then check out depending on what you are doing. So we are posting here. In case you have not accessed the research sample papers, you can find them here for all the different subjects. You just come here, check out what you want. This is physics, this is physics, these are seminar questions like that. Then you can get access to them. So I'll post the link in the chat as I ask Kalagala to pray for us. For any questions, you could access me any time in case you are able to get me. Okay, I want to get St. Cornelius Kalagala. Hope I will get them. St. Cornelius, can you unmute? So, yeah. St. Cornelius, you could pray for us. Oh. I think I'm failing to get St. Cornelius. Babidio, could you pray for us?
All right. Thank you for this opportunity that has been granted for me.
Could you first ask your question?
My question was about the inculcation of that hypothesis within our research proposal. So I think I'll watch that, but I wanted to know how do we include it in our research proposal.
Okay, now when it comes to an hypothesis, you can either use research questions or you use hypothesis. But also you can use both depending on the nature of your research topic. So when you are stating the hypothesis, you say there is a significant this and this. Yeah, but I would encourage that use one of them, but you may not use both. Yeah. Yes, but do not forget that hypothesis will come out is like a guess of what you expect.
So when you are stating your
come again.
So what if I state it I state it and what I've supposed to be it doesn't come right at the end.
And then you say it is invalid.
As I expected. In my conclusion.
Yes, in your conclusion. But this is a proposal, so we don't expect you to come up with such a conclusion. Because you have not yet carried it. So we don't expect it to carry it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, you can pray for us.
So.
Okay, you can pray for us.
Okay, my name is Amwatura Regan, and I thank God for this opportunity that has granted to me. Let us humble ourselves as we are going to have a prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the mighty session that you have granted to our lives and to our future, Father. We thank you that we have had a very great moment towards our academic excellence. We thank you for our teacher who has led us, Father, for the wonderful ideas that has provided to us. Heavenly Father, we pray that you bless him, you bless each and every one that has been able to attend this session, Father. You bless everyone, Father Jesus Christ, and we thank you for this wonderful lesson. I pray that whatever each and every one wishes to have and to attain at the end of this academic year, Father, it comes true through all that I've prayed in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord. Amen. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay. And have a lovely afternoon. So much. Everyone. And have a lovely afternoon, everyone.
Hey, guys. Guys.